Today's episode exposes the falsehoods behind the claim of patriarchy in America versus the actual matriarchy that dominates American society. I'm Manly Thoughts, and you are awesome. Let's get into it. We've been living in a matriarchy in America since the mid 1960s when feminism took over the media, government policies, and corporate America. Hiring quotas emerged that favored women and continue to this day. Policies and beliefs determine whether you are living in a matriarchy or a patriarchy, not whether the people at the top are male or female. If the top officials put policies in place that favor women over men, then you are living in a matriarchy. The evidence of the matriarchy is everywhere. Let's look at several examples of this fact. Never underestimate how insidious and impactful these influences are on your thinking, particularly when you are bombarded endlessly with this propaganda every day from all sides. Starting in the mid 1960s, TV sitcoms began portraying men as weak and stupid and women as strong and intelligent. You look at shows like The Munsters, where Herman Munster was this big klutz and his wife Lily was this intelligent, strong woman. Then you look at the Batman and Robin TV show, which came out of a comic strip, and Batman and Robin wore these ridiculous tights, looked very unmasculine, let's say. And then in 1970, you had shows like Mary Tyler Moore come along, where Mary Tyler Moore is this strong, independent woman. And you had spin offs from that show later, like Rhoda in the 1970s. So again, you had men being portrayed as just a bunch of dummies and women being portrayed as intelligent, smart, and all that. And that continues to this day. Let's take a look at a couple of screenshots. I apologize, they're a little blurry. They came off YouTube, but these are a couple of screenshots from the aforementioned TV shows. First, it's the Munsters. Now it's Batman and Robin. And finally, Mary Tyler Moore. TV and cable news shows consistently cast women in a favorable light. They rarely, if ever, say anything negative about women. They consistently blame men for violence and any other bad thing that's going on. Yet the percentage of men who commit such crimes is rather small. But all men are tarred with the same brush. They're all evil. The verbal, financial, emotional, and sometimes physical abuse by women on men, which occurs daily, is ignored by the media. TV and cable news shows give endless sympathy to women who lose their life savings to scammers. Men are ignored, yet men get fleeced every day by scammers as well as by women in divorce court. Now let's take a look at a video clip of an 83-year-old woman who was scammed out of her life savings, and watch how sympathetic the female narrator or female reporters are to this woman. Just notice this. It's really, really interesting.
It hurts financially and it hurts emotionally. Makes me feel horrible, makes me feel dirty, makes me feel stupid.
Before the scam, Pat Brecruz lived a quiet life in Westfield, Indiana. She was in her early 80s. She had been married for decades. Her husband died in 2020. After his death, her days became predictable. Morning routines, household tasks, occasional calls with family. Her savings were modest but meaningful. Money set aside over many years. Money meant to support her remaining years with stability. She did not live extravagantly. She lived carefully. Like many widows, she felt the absence of daily companionship more than anything else. Loneliness did not arrive loudly. It settled in slowly. By 2022, Pat decided to try a dating website, The choice was not impulsive. She had watched others find companionship online. She believed it was simply another way people met. Her expectations were measured. She was not searching for excitement. She was looking for connection. The first contact came through the platform itself. A man who called himself Lewis reached out. He introduced himself politely. He said he worked for a construction company based in Montreal. He shared his age. Pat shared hers. When she told him she was 83, he dismissed it without hesitation. He said age did not matter to him.
And he told me his age, he was 62, and I told him I was 83 at the time. And he says, oh, age is just a number. I don't care.
The exchange felt affirming. Nothing about it seemed alarming. It followed the same rhythm as countless online introductions. Lewis suggested moving the conversation off the dating site. He said texting would be easier. Pat agreed. She had done this before with friends and family. The shift did not feel like a warning sign. Once they began texting, the messages became frequent. They arrived every morning and every night. He called her affectionate names. He asked about her day. He spoke about faith and commitment. He wrote long messages filled with reassurance.
And it got extremely romantic. And he says, I can't wait to be with you. And I mean, he just drew me in. And I fell in love with it.
TV commercials, even to this day, portray men as stupid and women as smart. And I'll give you two examples of current TV commercials. One is for DuckDuckGo, and the other is an Allstate commercial. Again, you can see these on TV currently. Let's look at these two clips.
Tired of being tracked online? Switch from Chrome to DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is a browser you download to your desktop and mobile devices. Unlike Chrome, the DuckDuckGo browser has privacy built in. It comes with a private alternative to Google search, which doesn't spy on your searches. And it blocks cookies and creepy ads. And there's no catch. It's free. We make money from ads, but they don't follow you around. Join the millions of people taking back their privacy by downloading DuckDuckGo on mobile and desktop today.
I checked Allstate first and saved hundreds on my car insurance. Unfortunately, I didn't check if doing the Georgia bark at my boss would be appropriate. Go, dogs!
Yeah. So we need
And it's not. Checking Allstate first was smart. Barking at my boss, dumb. At least I checked Allstate first and saved hundreds.
Hey, Bark Boy.
These guys are crazy.
Now let's talk about hiring, firing, and promoting practices, both in government at all levels, federal, state, and local, as well as at businesses of various sizes. There are clear hiring quotas that favor women, not based on merit, purely based on the fact that it's you're hiring a female. And this is particularly prevalent in governments at all levels. It's also true in businesses, corporations, and so on. Hiring practices, let's talk about that. So we have quotas favoring women. We have HR departments are typically run by women. We have female bosses, which, and I've seen this personally myself, that are way more biased in their hiring, promoting, firing, that kind of thing, in favor of female employees than male bosses are. I mean, I'm sure there's a little bias on both sides, but what I've seen is male bosses tend to be hire, fire, and promote based on merit, not so much based on male versus female. But female bosses are, I've seen it firsthand, they're very biased in favor of other females and against men. When it comes to firing and layoffs, that type of thing, women are favored there as well for fear of lawsuits, both in government and in business. So they'll tend to fire or lay off men whenever possible and try to not lay off women because women will file discrimination lawsuits and that type of thing. Promotional practices favor women as well. Again, this is for fear of discrimination lawsuits. Whether or not the woman deserves the promotion is not the issue. Employers are afraid of being hit with a discrimination lawsuit. So the matriarchy definitely shows itself in hiring, firing, and promotional practices. Now let's take a look at how the matriarchy controls the agenda in the U.S. education system. First, we'll start with the U.S. public schools and how they rank internationally. And this slide shows that the U.S. doesn't show up that great internationally. It's 34th in mathematics out of 81 countries, 34th in math, 16th in science, and 7th in reading, according to the 2022 Program for International Student Assessment Study. So clearly the U.S., for all the money we spend on education, we're not getting a great result from that. Now let's take a look at the U.S. education system on all levels. Public schools, from elementary schools, middle schools, all the way through high school, absolutely berate masculinity, calling it toxic and evil and everything else. Young boys are emasculated right from the start. Girls are told to be girls and boys are told to be girls, it seems. Universities are woke as hell, and many educators and administrators are women. So the matriarchy has a really strong grip on the education system in the United States at all levels. Now let's take a look at the court system, which is dominated by the matriarchy. First, let's take a look at the criminal court system. In criminal court, women are believed even though they lie all the time. Women are favored in charges brought, charges dismissed, and lighter sentences for the same crime as a man. And of course, men's prisons are much worse, much more violent than women's prisons. In divorce and family court, judges tend to believe the woman first. And more judges are women. 70% of divorces are filed by women. They can get a no-fault divorce even when she cheats, which often happens. Judges often annul prenups. So even if you have a prenup, doesn't mean you're safe. And men often pay alimony and child support. Now let's take a look at the societal narrative. Men bashing, i.e. misandry, is endless. It's all over the place. The male loneliness epidemic, that's a lie. Toxic masculinity, that's a lie. And widespread male violence, that's also a lie. Now let's talk about how the matriarchy shows up in relationships. First off, women are controlling and abusive far more often than men. And yet all you ever hear about relationships is that, oh, men are controlling and abusive and all that. And it's actually the opposite. Women are very controlling. Number two, women are professionals at manipulating relationships. This starts from the time they're little girls. They manipulate daddy and uncle and grandpa and then boyfriend and then eventually husband perhaps and so on. They are really good at it. Never underestimate the ability of women to manipulate a relationship. They are very, very good at it. And finally, number three, feminism has always been about power and control, not equality. Now, here's a new area where the matriarchy is starting to dominate: AI. Search engines like ChatGPT and Grok are clearly biased against men and biased for women. I've seen this myself, and you'll see things like you search for something and it fails to show the results that put men in a positive light by ignoring historical studies or surveys on purpose. It's pretty blatant. In addition to there being errors, just flat out errors, with a lot of these popular AI search engines like Chat, GPT, and Grok. So just be aware that there is an emerging pretty clear bias in favor of women by the creators of these popular AI search engines. The matriarchy cannot leave men alone to enjoy anything. Nag, nag, nag. And men's hobbies are one illustration. They're often criticized. Hunting, target practice, weightlifting, restoring an old sports car, car racing, men's sports like UFC fighting, football. All these things get criticized. You know, men can't just enjoy what they do. They have to be just nag, nag, nag by the matriarchy. Football, men's football, is the most popular sport in America. But the matriarchy just cannot leave men alone to enjoy their sport, can they? And we've really seen this in college football and in NFL football. We've got female sideline reporters. We've got female water boys. You know, how many young men would love to be on the sidelines of their favorite football team, be it college or pro, helping out, being the water boys? But if you notice this, the water boys are now dominantly females. Stay the F out of our game. Just stay out of it. But they won't. They're nags. Women are just nags. They cannot let men enjoy something. You also see these female medical assistants. Now, these women are a joke, an absolute joke. A player gets injured on the field, and they'll send a couple of people out, you know, a couple of men, and there'll always be a female there. And she does basically nothing. She watches the men do all the work. And if the men have to help the big, bulky football player off the field, the women are useless because they don't have the physical strength to help a large player off the field. So again, it's a joke. It's kind of like the female police officers thing where they stand back and let the men do all the work. We've also now got, this is fairly recent, we've now got female referees. I've seen this in college football, and I think I've even seen it in the NFL, but I know I've seen it in college football. And even more recently, female play-by-play announcers. I think I've only seen this in college football. It's pretty isolated. I don't think I've seen this in the NFL yet. But, you know, who knows what's going to happen over the next couple of years. Women can't seem to keep their big noses out of men's hobbies like football. And, of course, in October, you've got to wear pink, you know. That's a real manly thing. You know, it's amazing how many of these NFL players, especially the NFL players, are, they might be strong and look masculine, but underneath it all, they're just a bunch of betas. And that's what we're dealing with, you know. Who knows, maybe in 5 years or 10 years, we'll be playing flag football and half the players will be females. God forbid that happens, but maybe that's where we're going with all this, guys. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now let's talk about something called the natural order. The matriarchy is doing everything it can to turn this upside down. The natural order is still male-female, and by male I mean an alpha male. That's the way nature works. The beta males don't survive. Evolution just takes them out, and the alpha males dominate. But the matriarchy wants to turn things into really female dominance and male subservience, beta males, simps, you know, all that. If you want to regain your sanity as a man, spend time in nature, because you will then see the natural order. And it will really help restore your sanity if you're getting driven nuts by all this weird stuff that's going on. Nature has not become emasculated and perverted like humanity has. And if you go your own way, that allows you to go with the natural order, be an alpha male, instead of going against the natural order. So that's my advice. Go MGTOW. Do your own thing as an alpha male. Enjoy your hobbies. Enjoy your work. And don't let the matriarchy turn you into some simp or some beta. Okay, gentlemen, it's time for my manly tip of the day. What are we going to do? What can men do about all of this matriarchal nonsense that's going on in American society? Well, there's a couple things you can do. You can go MGTOW, go your own way, do your own thing. Be a real man. You can avoid marriage. You should avoid marriage and focus on yourself. You can directly support other men. Doctors, realtors, insurance agents, landlords, business owners. Support male doctors, male realtors, male insurance agents, male landlords, male business owners. Do what you can to help other men. We're under absolute assault by the matriarchy, so help other men. And finally, vote against politicians who support the matriarchy. You know, that's just another way we can exert some influence. So keep those things in mind, and maybe we can get a little bit of pushback against the matriarchy and restore some of our sanity and enjoyment and happiness in life. This concludes today's episode. Please like and subscribe. It will help the channel reach more men out there. Until next time, guys, take care and be safe.